Welcome everyone to our guest internet product training. This product training is for people who want to install guest internet products and also to support customers who are using guest internet products. First, an introduction to guest internet. It's a brand of Fire 4 Systems Inc. Fire 4 Systems was established in 2005, and Guest Internet was created in 2010 as a product for hospitality businesses who wanted to manage the internet service for the guests. Since then, Guest Internet has grown and is in use in more than 65 countries around the world by more than 50,000 businesses. Firewall Systems also has two other brands, Orthonet Cybersecurity and EasyWisp products. The training that I'm going to present today is divided into 15 parts. It's a long training, but it's pretty comprehensive. And after this training, it's going to be possible for anyone to install and manage a guest internet product without problem. So let's get started. First, an introduction to internet, public Wi-Fi and mobile broadband for those who are not familiar with this area. The demand for internet access is what drives the provision of services by various businesses and entities. And there are various reasons. The pandemic is the biggest reason that has increased remote work and working at home. Meaning that more internet services are required for homes. There's also an increased volume of communication with apps like Skype and Zoom. Social media is used more for contacts, and people are shopping online rather than going to stores. Also, banking is now mostly done on the internet. People are finding that educational courses are more available on the internet, and businesses also use the availability of internet to attract customers. Hotels, motels would not get guests if they didn't have a free internet service. Also, organizations like hospitals and municipal offices provide internet. And the method that most of us get access to the internet for mobile devices is the 4G and 5G networks. And they're available in urban areas and most rural areas. However, there are some rural areas that don't have 4G or 5G coverage. There's also the fact that the telecom companies impose caps on the 4G and 5G services. And so people seek Wi-Fi services as a method of adding to the data that's available to their devices. Now, let's do a quick summary of the methods that we use to connect to our internet services. We often use some sort of physical connection like DSL, TV cable, or fiber connection, and these are provided by an internet service provider. We also have 4G and 5G wireless access on our phones, and we have Wi-Fi access that's provided by a business like a hotel or provided by a wireless internet service provider. We also have satellite services, and these come in two types. One is geosynchronous, where the satellite remains in one position in the sky, and a popular system is provided by HughesNet and used in many locations around the world. We also have the low Earth orbit satellites, where multiple satellites fly overhead very quickly because they're moving a lot faster than the movement of the Earth. And these satellites have been around for many years, providing satellite telephone services, and more recently, satellite data services. And one of the suppliers of this type of service is called Starlink. Now, there are two types of wireless broadband service. The first is a fixed broadband or fixed wireless access. This means the home or office has a permanent wireless connection, and that's provided by either a 4G or 5G mobile phone provider, or else from a wireless internet service provider. We also have mobile broadband that we connect our mobile devices to, and these are generally within areas such as hotels who provide that service. It could be other areas, for example, airports or trade shows that provide that type of service. Now, when businesses offer mobile broadband, there are several methods. The first is completely free access without restrictions. Then we have free access, but with certain restrictions, where we set limits to the download and upload speeds. Maybe we block certain websites or website categories in order to be able to share the service. And next, we actually add further restrictions. We provide a login page which requires an agreement to the terms and conditions of use. We can also apply other controls, for example, situations where a business wants only authorized people to have access, such as the hotel guests. And so the guest is provided with an access code, which is required to enter into the login page in order to get access to the internet. And in some situations, there's a charge made for the access code. It's important to note that public wireless is not encrypted because obviously it's not possible to give the encryption key to everyone because the people who shouldn't be using it would also get the encryption key. Unencrypted wireless can be intercepted by sniffer tools, special tools that a hacker would use. And so it's important when using public internet to have a virtual private network to encrypt the connection. There are businesses that sell a mobile broadband service on the basis of a subscription. And travelers will see these names in airports, for example. Boingo is a subscription service that has internet access around the world. There are in-flight subscription services as well that people can sign up for. So frequent travelers have a lot of benefits when it comes to connecting to the internet. One important aspect of the mobile broadband service is mobility. And this means that we can move over a large area and still remain connected. A wireless access point has a limited radius of coverage. However, we can install a number of wireless access points and remain connected to the internet. An airport, for example, is a very large building and one access point will not give coverage. Maybe 20 or 30 access points are required. The same in a hotel. A hotel may have 10, 20, 30 access points to give coverage. And so we want to be able to move around the property and still remain connected to the internet. A lot of wireless access points don't permit this type of automatic roaming. And so when we move from one wireless access point to another, we may have to reconnect to the network. Guest Internet has a technology, a roaming technology that permits users to move from one wireless to the next and remain connected to the internet because the cloud system has an automatic handoff which is similar to mobile phone networks. There are some abuses when businesses provide a Wi-Fi internet service. Simple things like a coffee shop where customers sit using the internet and not buying products. Customers might be downloading very large files and slowing the internet down for everyone else. an open Wi-Fi can expose the business to risk because it's possible to hack into the point of sale if there's no protection for the business network. Also, a business is at risk when people are sharing copyrighted material. And if people are connecting computers with certain types of virus, then it's necessary to prevent those getting access. And so the guest internet products have a gateway firewall that protects against these abuses that might occur to ensure that the service provides a good performance for all users of the service. There are certain abuses that wireless internet service providers see and have to protect against. One is an attempt to hack into the service, where people will try to capture information such as IP addresses and MAC addresses in order to connect. And guest internet has measures to prevent this. Another method that might be used for a WISP network is to connect a mobile phone using the access code, but then configure the mobile phone as a wireless access point or wireless repeater, configure it as a router. And so guest internet also has measures, firewall measures to prevent this happening. Next, we'll look at the guest internet product range, and these are divided into two areas: the gateway products and the wireless products. And there's a wide range of products for every type of public internet application, from hospitality businesses, both free and paid services, to large-scale applications where maybe many thousands of people are connecting to the internet. This table gives a summary of the guest internet products. On the left, you'll see the wireless products. In the middle, the business products, and on the right, the pro products, the professional products. We also have a printer, a receipt printer that's used for certain types of applications, as we'll see. And so this table gives a summary of the products, and you'll see that each product has a specific bandwidth. And this means that we have to choose a product based on the bandwidth of our internet service. And so it's very important that we consult this table when choosing a gateway product. The wireless products are shown here. There are four, and the K1 is a wireless router product suitable for indoor applications, coffee bars, or restaurants. The GIS K3 is an outdoor wireless product with a directional antenna, which might be suitable for fixed wireless access to homes. The GIS K5 is an indoor product with an omnidirectional antenna that will be suitable for large areas such as shopping malls or sports stadiums. And finally, the GIS K7. It's an outdoor product with omnidirectional antenna, and so is very useful for areas where we want to provide mobile Wi-Fi over a large area, which may be a public area, a public park, or a very large area where people go shopping, for example, streets with shops. The R series of commercial products, we have three. The GISR2 is the basic gateway product with 100 megabits throughput. The GISR4 has 150 megabits throughput, better performance and more features. And then the GISR6, we add more features, more performance, 200 megabits throughput. And it also has dual WAN, which means we can connect to two internet service providers. And what that does is to sum the bandwidth from the two providers to give us more bandwidth for our users, and also give us more reliability, because if one provider fails, then the users are moved to the provider that has the better service. The R Series Professional, 3 products, starting with the GISR 10. This has a 400 megabit throughput with dual WAN. The GISR 20 has 600 megabits throughput with dual WAN. And the GISR 40 has 1 gigabit throughput with quad WAN, 4 WAN ports. There are a list of features here of the products, the guest internet products. On the left, we have Wi-Fi internet features for hospitality businesses, plug and play, easy to install, very important. A lot of guest internet products are installed by the hotel manager without any need to call a technical person. Multi-language, English and Spanish, very popular in Latin America. No user limits, but we do set bandwidth limits. We maintain the service quality for the guests, which is very important for hotels. They don't want guests complaining about the service. We have a login page which we can customize very easily with the business logo and advertisements. We have multiple login modes with firewall rules, login codes for security and control. We have various types of access, multi-device, family access. We can share the ISP bandwidth or bandwidth from multiple ISPs. We can print access code receipts at the hotel check-in desk. We have the controls that prevent abuse. We have 2-tier access, free slow speed, charge for faster speed. We have a VLAN configuration where it's possible for guests and staff to share one wireless network in a hotel. We have monitoring for failures and alarms. And so a managed service provider can know instantly if some failure has occurred. And most importantly, there are no additional charges. The updates are free, the support is free, and the cloud service is free. We have a similar list for mobile broadband for internet service providers. Easy to brand with your business info, manage an unlimited number of gateways using the free cloud account. We can manage cash sales with vouchers and receipts, design and print vouchers, download codes if we want to print scratch-off cards. We have online sales with PayPal credit card billing. We have roaming, so the internet service provider can build a large network and the user can roam between the different access points. We have the security controls to block any type of attack. We have usage stats to monitor performance. We can install Wi-Fi access points at multiple locations, which allows the internet service provider to expand the business without limits. We have the failure service monitoring and alarm generation on a failure occurrence, upgrades and support, a free cloud management service, and very highly scalable from tens to tens of thousands of users. All these points we're going to cover as we go through this training presentation, and so we're going to elaborate more information about each one. We have some very powerful features that are not found in any other type of product. Starts with responsive pages for the admin functions. We can specify the start date and time of codes, so we can issue codes which are only valid after a certain date and time. We can print vouchers in a 4x4 format on any type of printer. We have a cloud messaging service which allows us to send emails via the cloud and not have to worry about configuring for an SMTP server. Roaming between hotspots, which I've mentioned. very important feature for internet service providers. The VLAN configurations, which are also important for large-scale networks, whereby we can set up a multi-use wireless network. And then we have support for property management systems that want to integrate with the Wi-Fi, and we'll cover this as well in a short while. Now, the current software is designed to boost the performance. We have a number of features which do this. And by the way, some older products can be upgraded with the latest software to improve the performance. Now, all our programming is done in C language for speed. We have support for the latest browser technology, support for multi-core processor technology, very good use of memory to provide a greater throughput, and we can support more users for a given ISP bandwidth. And it's a very intuitive interface that makes it very easy to manage and configure the service. We have other features, for example, that allow us to monitor what is happening with our network, various types of monitoring both on the gateway and through the cloud, so that we're able to, at any time, identify any bottlenecks in our network system. Guest Internet also works with any vendor of network product. A few are listed here, but there's no restriction with regard to any vendor. Even vendors that need hardware controllers as part of the network, such as Ubiquiti, Unify, or Ruckus, can install their products with the Guest Internet network without problem. Now, the next section is a review of applications for mobile broadband and Wi-Fi hotspots. I'm sure that we are not going to cover every single application that viewers might be thinking about, but we're covering a good percentage of them. Now, where do we find mobile Wi-Fi? Well, we find it in a lot of different locations, and here are some of them. We know, for example, motels and hotels, resorts where we can get Wi-Fi, coffee bars, airports, RV parks, campgrounds, churches, trade shows, retailers, hospitals, clinical offices, shopping malls, sports stadiums, gyms, just a few of the areas or businesses that provide Wi-Fi internet. Now, we divide applications into two different areas. One is the internet service providers, who are specific businesses that use Guest Internet products to provide an internet service. And then we have hospitality businesses that might include retail as well, who provide a service for their guests and visitors. The internet service providers are generally seeking to sell a service, whereas the hospitality businesses are seeking to provide usually a free service that will attract guests to their business. Now, there are some important features that are essential for internet service providers who want to sell the internet services. One is voucher printing, and we have three different methods to print access codes onto vouchers. We have online credit card sales, and we can manage these through a mobile phone if we want. The roaming feature is very important for many businesses. It's not just restricted to one location where you might have multiple access points, but for example, a hotel chain can have maybe 1,000 different franchises, and they want to give the VIP customers a code that gives them preferential access in any one of those hotels. And this can be done with guest internet products. A simple application is a retail business, a coffee bar or a restaurant that might want a simple product like the GISK1 to provide internet access for the guests. Large indoor venues, hotels, resorts, shopping malls will have multiple wireless access points, and they want to ensure that guests have internet access in every part of the property, and guest internet can deliver this type of service. We can have Wi-Fi hotspots, pay-on-demand services for outdoor areas where people using that area might want to get internet access. It can be free, it can be a paid type of service. And so this is also a popular application. Churches use a lot of guest internet products, and that's because churches now use online Bible classes. The churches have a very specific requirement that they want to have internet access, but only for the Bible class courses. And guest internet can do this. So all parts of the internet can be blocked except the Bible study courses. And so these products are popular with churches. Many types of businesses, such as campgrounds or RV parks, require to provide internet service for their guests and visitors. The internet is essential for travelers. And so, using guest internet products, these businesses can build a very large wireless network that covers the whole property and can manage the guests. Guest internet also is configured, integrated with services such as campground reservation systems, so that when someone makes a reservation, they get maybe the access code to the gate, and they also get the access code for the Wi-Fi. And so that simplifies the guest arriving at the campsite or RV park. We have larger applications which require often custom work. For example, trade shows. Trade shows have three different types of people who are using the internet service. They have the people who rented the booths, who want internet access for the booths. They have the administrators of the trade show who need internet access wherever they go, and also the visitors who want internet access. And so it might be that the people who have the booths have all paid for the internet service as part of the booth charge, and visitors might be charged for the internet service. It may be that the organizers have set up internet kiosks, and the management of the event will get free internet access. Airports are also another area where custom applications are common. An airport might have a three-tier system whereby a traveler can get free internet access for 30 minutes at a slow speed. The traveler can then purchase internet access at hourly rates, and the traveler can also use a subscription service like Boingo to get internet access. And so guest internet supports this type of three-tier login configuration. Sports stadiums are another area where people want to have internet access. Sports fans like to upload selfies to social media and the key points of the game. And so a large sports stadium can be equipped with Wi-Fi internet access. Parks, state parks, RV parks, campgrounds are very large areas that require a well-engineered type of wireless network to cover that area. And so guest internet can help with these. And it's often the case that parks, campgrounds are in remote locations and don't have internet access. And so guest internet products are configured with the satellite providers like HughesNet or Starlink in order to provide guests with internet access. We have large hospital networks where one Wi-Fi network can be used by both medical staff and by hospital visitors and patients who are staying in the hospital. And so the guest internet VLAN system can separate the traffic from these two types of users in order to provide security for the hospital. Similarly, with hotels using guest internet products, one wireless network can be used not only by the hotel guests, but also by the hotel staff. And the staff and guests are isolated in VLANs. So large-scale public internet projects can require a certain amount of custom design work. And we support the systems integrators to help them customize the systems to their requirement. We can do this because we have features for systems integrators called application program interfaces. Each guest internet gateway has an application program interface, and our cloud service also has an application program interface, which makes integrating with third-party systems very easy. Okay, and so a lot of the custom applications that we see are easily configured using guest internet products. The cloud service enables very high volume applications by stacking gateways. We have high performance gateways. We can build custom gateways up to 10 gigabit throughput. But quite often, our customers find that they can grow an installation by stacking gateways. And with the cloud group management feature, a stack of gateways can be managed exactly like one gateway. And so if it's necessary to have 10,000 people connecting to a network, then 5 GISR40 products might provide the bandwidth necessary using 5 gigabits of internet service. And so there are a lot of flexible methods of configuring large-scale internet services. Paid mobile broadband applications are very common. We have a lot of customers using satellite antennas for remote rural locations, such as HughesNet or now Starlink, which has become very popular. And so even in remote rural locations in places like Latin America, Caribbean, Africa, where there is no internet service, an enterprising individual can start selling an internet service, both fixed wireless access and a mobile service, using an antenna like the Starlink service. And so it's now possible to provide internet for any community in any location without restriction. When configuring mobile broadband, it's necessary to put the wireless access point on a high location, such as a building roof or a tower, because it's important that all the users have line of sight to that antenna. So both mobile users and fixed wireless access users, people who are connecting in a home, have visibility of that antenna. If there's any obstruction, then it's not possible to get a Wi-Fi connection. I mentioned about integration with third-party systems. A very popular integration is the property management system, which is the software that all hotels and motels use to manage the business, to check in guests, to manage the inventory for housekeeping. And it's very common that we see a request where a hotel wants to give the guest a code, a unique code when the guest checks in, and then remove that code when the guest checks out. And this is done with guest internet products. The property management system needs a feature to generate a unique code for the guest when the guest checks in. But then once that code is generated, the property management system communicates the code to guest internet using one of the API interfaces. That code is then activated. The guest can use that code to access the internet from that point on. And then when the guest checks out, the PMS system sends that code back to the gateway to tell the gateway to remove the code. For anyone who wants to implement this system, it's worthwhile noting that the generally property management system software has a support contract. So it's only accessible by the businesses that provide the support contract. So any hotel that wants to implement this type of system should call the company that provides the support, and then they can speak to us about using the API to interface. And generally, it's a very fast type of installation. It doesn't require a lot of work because a lot of PMS systems already have this feature built in. Now, there are risks that businesses face when offering a Wi-Fi internet service. And one of the most important is the risk of somebody using the Wi-Fi service to access the business computers, or worse still, the business point of sale. And guest internet has a very powerful firewall which blocks this access. This is a requirement for any business that does have a point of sale. It's called the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or PCI DSS for short. And that requires that the business must provide a protection if that business offers public Wi-Fi, as many businesses do. And so the installation of a guest internet product will ensure that the requirements of the PCI DSS compliance are met. One of the problems that many hotels face is getting letters from lawyers that have been written because guests in that hotel have been sharing copyrighted material. And so guest internet has a feature to block the use of popular software that shares copyrighted material called torrent software. And this will prevent a hotel receiving this type of notice called a DMCA takedown notice. Guest Internet has an internet cafe point of sale system, and this is popular in areas like Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa, probably not in North America, where the access to the internet is generally available. But for travelers who are traveling around many countries, the only way they can get internet access is an internet cafe, and the internet cafe charges for that access. And Guest Internet has a complete point of sale system for those businesses that want to sell internet access. A tablet is required, and up to 10 buttons can be put on the tablet for 10 different types of sales. The system uses the GIS-TP1 point of sale ticket printer, and the ticket printer also has a port to connect to cash draw. And so it's very easy to get set up in a business to sell internet access, both Wi-Fi to mobile devices and also wired to computers. Now let's move to the installation and setup of guest internet products. Each guest internet product is shipped with a quick start guide. This is a guide to help people set up the equipment very quickly. It takes maybe a couple of minutes, and it requires that the equipment is connected to the internet. The WAN port connects to the internet service, and then a computer is connected with an Ethernet cable to the LAN port. As soon as the equipment is powered up and the browser is opened, then the user will see the quick start guide and will follow the instructions in the quick start guide, which are also described in the document that's shipped with each product. The guest internet product setup, the setup wizard, automatically creates a login page. And the information that needs to be provided is shown in the sample screenshot. A selection is made for the type of background, and then information is provided that appears on the login page. And once the setup process is completed, the equipment reboots and is ready to be used in operation. It may be that we need additional configuration steps, and so we have to go back and make some other changes to the configuration. When we first log in as the administrator using the password that we provided using the setup wizard, we see the system information page, or called the dashboard. And this has the basic information for the operation. It's got 4 colored tabs which provide fast access to information. And the menu on the left-hand side has 4 sections: the setup wizard, which has been completed, the status functions, the management functions, and then the advanced settings. The first step is to create a codes password for the login. This is used by the GIS TP1 printer for the point of sale application, or for an application where we would generate codes with the printer, a hotel check-in desk, for example. Now, the next step is to maybe custom configure the login page, which is part of the captive portal. Now, the setup wizard created the standard captive portal login page, and we have several methods to customize this. So the auto-generated login page is created with the setup wizard. We can then upload a background photo or any type of information that we want to use to customize the login page. We can design and upload a custom login page that we've created using HTML. We can design a more advanced login page where it's integrated with the business website in what we call a walled garden, where when the user connects to the Wi-Fi service, the user sees the business website and can navigate around the business website. But when the user tries to go to a different website, then the login box is shown to enter the access code. And then we have a very custom application where there's no login page, but the control of the access is made using the firewall and all the other controls. And this is used in applications such as condominiums. Now, for anyone who wants to develop a custom login page, Guest Internet provides a login page simulator, which means that you don't have to have a product in order to test this. We upload it to the login page simulator, test it. And a lot of people use this feature when they're developing custom login pages. Now, the standard login page is shown here. When we set up the wizard, then we choose either controlled access or an access that allows us to agree to the terms and conditions, and both are shown here. So on the left we have the login page that requires a code to access the network. On the right we have a login page with a box to click that says I agree to the terms and conditions. Now, the login page options can be selected on this login page settings page where we can use the setup wizard. We can select a custom background, or we can select the custom login page. And once we select the custom login page, then we have 3 different types of configuration options that we can choose. The link shown there is the link that we use to test the custom login pages, our login page simulator. Uploading a background requires a JPEG format picture that has a size less than 196 KB. We recommend smaller sizes for fast login page loading. The custom background can look like this, where a marina can get a photo of the premises and upload that as a custom background page. A custom login page is going to be created with HTML and JavaScript, and the login page can be very simple or very complex. It really depends on the sophistication that the business requires. It's tested first with our simulator and then uploaded to the gateway as shown in this figure. And here are a couple of examples of custom login pages. On the left, we have a resort where we can navigate the website, and a login page code is requested if we try to access Google or any of the website. On the right, we have a food franchise where the code is requested as part of the menu page that the restaurant page displays on the website. We have a number of login page templates that can be downloaded and customized to make the process very easy, and these are available on the Guest Internet website. Now let's look at internet access controls and login methods. There are 8 different login methods, and 2 of them we provide during the setup wizard. These are the controlled and unlimited access. I'll go through these 8 methods. The first one is unlimited access, where the login page shows and there's a button to agree to the terms and conditions. Next, we have controlled access, where the login page opens a box that requires the entry of a code in order to get access to the internet. And we have different methods of generating these codes. The next is registered access, where we request the user to provide some type of personal information. It might be an email address or a phone number in order to get access to the internet. And once that information is entered, it's sent to the hotspot owner via email, or it can be written directly to a server. We have open access, which does not have a login page, but all the access control rules apply, and this is used in applications such as condominiums. We have paid access, where access can be purchased using a credit card online, and we provide a PayPal gateway, which requires a PayPal business account in order to charge the credit card. We have 2-tier access, which provides a free slow speed access and also offers a paid high-speed access. Next, we have 3-tier access, popular with airports. This gives a free, limited time, slow-speed access. And then the customer can choose a paid high-speed access, or else enter with subscription information, such as the Boingo subscription. And then finally, we have approved device access, whereby we can set up access using a device identifier, for example, a MAC address. And so that will allow that user of that device to authenticate onto the network. Let's look at these in detail. The selection is made using the login page settings using a drop-down menu. And we can see that we select controlled, registered, unlimited, or open using the drop-down menu. And then we have options within each to choose specific types of configurations that we want. Now, the open access means that we don't provide a login page, but all the other rules of access apply to the user. Unlimited access, we impose access rules, and the user has to agree to the terms and conditions of use. And this is what the login page would look like, a button that says connect and agree, agree to the terms and conditions. And these can be configured, as we'll see in a later screen. Controlled access, a code is provided to access, and the hotspot owner generates the codes in order to provide the codes to guests. This login page has a box where the code is entered, and then the button is clicked to connect and agree. Remember, these are the standard login pages that are created by the setup wizard. Custom login pages can look completely different, but they all have the box with the button in them. So we can have registered access where we have a login page that we request up to 3 fields of information, and we can specify what those fields are, and we can check the format of those fields. Remember, though, it's not possible to check the validity of an email address or a telephone number. All we can do is check the format. The only way we can verify if that's a valid email or telephone number is to send an email or call the number. We can use this, though, very effectively in applications like restaurants, where the visitor is anonymous. However, the restaurant can offer this type of login in order to collect emails and offer to send a free discount voucher for the next visit. And that has the dual purpose of encouraging the guest to provide a valid email address, and also encouraging the guest to return at a future date to get the discount. So the screen would look like this, for example, with 2 fields activated for the name and the email address. And once this information is entered, it's sent to the hotspot owner via email, or else it can be written directly to a server. Now, a charge can be made for the internet service. This is made using the PayPal gateway, and the hotspot owner will need a PayPal business account. This is not a normal PayPal account to make payments. This is a business account. And so the PayPal business account will have 3 parameters: the username, password, and signature, which is a crypto key, and that's entered. And then up to 10 different charges can be entered in the tables, which is basically a time and a value. And the currency can be selected. So it can be dollars or pesos or whatever the local currency is. And so when the guest logs in, then the guest will go through a process to make the purchase. The login screen will look like this. So the guest can click on the purchase, and then the guest goes through a process shown here, where once the button is clicked, the guest sees the drop-down menu to select the option. The guest is then taken to a PayPal page, makes the payment, and then the guest is given a login code valid for the duration that the guest purchased. When the guest is making the payment, the guest is actually on the PayPal website. And this is necessary for compliance with PCI. We don't have the credit card information inside the guest internet gateway in order to comply with the PCI requirement for security. And so all transactions are done on the PayPal website. We have a billing report, which we add every transaction. And so the hotspot owner can look at the billing report and compare that with the PayPal statement in order to verify that all payments have been received. We have other login page settings as well, which I'll go through quickly here. We can enable a pop-up timer window, but that's usually blocked by browsers, and so we're not using that a lot. We have an option clear MAC at logout. Now, if a code is generated for a single user, the MAC address of that code is tied to the access, and so that code cannot be used with another device simultaneously. And so for someone who is staying at a hotel, may have 4 different devices: a mobile phone, a tablet, a laptop computer, maybe a gaming console. And so that user would like to use that code with other devices. And so the clear MAC at logout permits the code to be used with a different device. So once the user logs out, then the code can be used to log in again with a different device. The inactivity logout timer is for the access where we agree to the terms and conditions, which is used a lot by coffee bars. And this will log out the user after a specified time, which might be 15 minutes. And this encourages people sitting in coffee bars to continue buying products in order to continue using the internet service. Next, we have the authentication type. We have the default is MAC and IP address, and we allow this to be changed because in some applications, the network might not be configured correctly. For example, in a campground, we may have a point-to-point network which connects a remote location which has an access point. Now, it's necessary to pass the MAC address of the guest computer back to the guest internet gateway in order to authenticate that user. If the point-to-point link does not have WDS enabled, then what we receive is the MAC address of the wireless device that connects to the guest internet gateway. And so we have to change the authentication type in this case to IP address only. This reduces the security of the network, but allows a misconfigured network to be used with guest internet. And we also have a checkbox for the Xbox login. The older versions of Xbox didn't have browsers, and so without allowing the Xbox to log in, it was not possible to connect an Xbox to a hotel network. All the messages that are provided in all the different versions of the login page can be edited, and they're available in the login page message page. These can be edited, added to provide additional information, or it can be translated into any other language: French, German, Spanish. And so the person who's implementing this can make a truly custom login page for the destination where the guest internet will be used. The terms and conditions, if you remember, could be viewed on the login screen, and these can be edited. There's a standard legal script for the terms and conditions appropriate to the USA market, and this can be translated or edited for any type of local market. And the editing is very simple. It's just copy, edit, paste, and then click on the button to update the window. One feature that is very popular with medical waiting rooms is the login page availability schedule. This is disabled by default, but can be activated. And then we have a checkbox matrix that we can use to select the time when the hotspot to the internet service will be available. And so a lot of medical offices want to make the service available only during opening hours and make it inaccessible outside those hours. And so we uncheck boxes in order to determine when the hotspot will not be available. And the result is that somebody connecting to the internet service outside the hours will see this screen. Sorry, this hotspot is not enabled, or we can edit this message to communicate whatever the business wants to do. An important feature is the access code generation and voucher printing, because many applications use access codes to provide the control of who can access the internet. And so we have the ability to generate access codes in various formats, and we can download these access codes, or we can print them onto vouchers, or we can use our GIS TP1 ticket printer to print them as part of a receipt. So access codes can be printed on a gateway for use with that gateway, and can also be printed in the cloud for use with a group of gateways. And so the choice of printing access codes depends on the application. Now, we have a number of parameters that can be selected with the code. First is the code type, and we have 4 different code types. We have random, where a random alphanumeric sequence is generated. We have custom codes, where the code is specified and only one code is generated. We have a description, where we can provide up to 10 characters to identify the code. And then we have the MAC address codes, where we enter a MAC address to use as an authentication code. Now, we can create a number of codes if we select the random option, and so we specify the number of codes we want to create. And this can be a number between 1 and 10,000. We can specify the expiration time, the duration of the code, and this can be from 30 minutes to unlimited. And so this provides a very broad range of expiration times. We can specify the number of concurrent users. So it can be from 1 user to 6 users, or unlimited. And this is determined by the application. A family checking into a hotel room, for example, might want a code that's suitable for 4 users. A hotel conference center might want a multi-user code that's unlimited, so that everyone attending the conference gets the same code. We can set the maximum download and upload speeds for the codes, and we can set the maximum download and upload byte count for the codes. And we can also set the start date and time for the code, so we can determine after when the code can be used. Now, access code printing is available locally. We can connect to the guest internet gateway, a wireless device or gateway device, and we can generate and print codes that are used only for that device. We can also log into our cloud account, add that device to the cloud account, and generate codes and print codes from the cloud account. And those codes are generated for a group, and that group can have an unlimited number of gateways. If we have a hotel chain with 1,000 franchises, we have 1,000 gateways added to a group. We can generate codes for our VIP customers that can be used in any one of those 1,000 franchises. Now, the code printing is very simple. Once the codes have been generated, we have 2 options. One is print the codes, and one is download the codes in a CSV format. And so if we choose to print the codes, we see them on the screen in the voucher format, and we can click to send these vouchers to our letter size printer. This shows the process. So we generate the codes, send them to the printer, print the sheet, and then we cut the sheet up to get the individual vouchers. We can also generate the codes one by one, and we can send them to the GIS TP1 ticket printer. Another option is we can generate the codes and download them as a CSV file, because that allows us to send them to a printer and then print scratch-off cards. So if we're going to sell these codes, for example, in a supermarket for a small town, then we can print scratch-off cards, sell them in the supermarket, and the visitors can get access to any one of our hotspots in the town. And so that's a very useful feature also. Now, the next series of features is for traffic flow management. And so we can set up bandwidth control, overall bandwidth control for any user connecting. We can set the default speed limits for download speed and upload speed. These are the maximum speed limits. We can set the data limits, so the maximum download and upload data limits. Now, if a speed limit or a data limit is selected for a code, then that overwrites the bandwidth controls. So we can set this bandwidth control if everyone is having the same bandwidth. So we set that here, and then we don't set a bandwidth control when we generate the code. So these bandwidth controls will apply. We also have a content filtering service, and we use a service called OpenDNS, which is part of the Cisco group. This is a subscription service, but subscribers can select any type of group that they want to block. And so depending on the type of service, it may be necessary to block groups with violence, groups that cover certain types of activities that are not desirable. And so the account from OpenDNS is obtained with a subscription. The type of filtering is set in the OpenDNS account, and then it's only necessary to put the OpenDNS username and password in this page in order to take advantage of that filtering service. We have a firewall which has various features to block any type of attempt to abuse the service. One of the features is allow remote management, which we'll see a little bit later. The block private IP ranges is set by default, and this is the PCI DSS compliant firewall. We have the ability to block DOS attacks, so any computer which has a denial of service virus can be activated as part of a distributed denial of service. And what that will do is use all the bandwidth of the network. And so we want to stop these types of access to the guest network. The next is that we can block routers. And so if somebody decides to configure a mobile phone as a router to share one access code with any people, that access will be blocked. And finally, we want to block file sharing, torrent software. Most of the torrent software today uses an encryption service, and so the IP address that the copyright holder sees is not the business address, but the gateway provided by the encryption service. Now, we can set allowed IP addresses, either IP addresses or domain names. And we might want to do this because we want to allow access to certain websites without having to click on the login page. Now, hotels might want to do this to allow access to airlines or airports so that once the guest is checked out, the guest no longer has a valid access code, but the guest can sit in the foyer and check on the availability of flights while waiting for a taxi, for example. And so this is a very useful feature. And up to 100 IP addresses or domain names can be added to the table. We can also block IP addresses or domain names. And so if a business requires specific websites to be blocked, we can do this. The one method I mentioned for churches requires a custom login page to block every website except the services that the church wants to use. We can set allowed MAC addresses. And so these are devices which will be able to bypass the login page. And so it might be that a business has certain devices that they want to allow a connection to be made without going through a login page. And so this can be done here. This may be, for example, a TV, a network connected TV in a hotel room. So we can add the MAC addresses of the TVs. They get access to the internet bypassing the login page. We can see here the reports of connected users, and that's divided between authenticated users and connected users, and also shows IP addresses used. A connected user is any device that is connected to the network and requested an IP address. An authenticated user is a device that's been seen the login page, has provided the access requirement, and is then authenticated to access the internet. In some cases, the firewall may block devices, and so they're moved to the block MAC address list. And so this lists the block MAC address, and the MAC addresses can be unblocked using this page. Let's look now at some other configuration features. WAN networks can be configured using the network interface tab. And if we have one WAN interface, then we see one tab. If we have more than one, then we see a tab for each WAN interface. Now, the WAN interface has two possible configurations. One is a DHCP client, so it connects to the ISP router. And one is a static address, so it's given a specific address connected to the ISP modem, and that address would be a public IP address. And so, depending on the product, the number of WAN network tabs becomes available. The LAN network configuration also is shown here. If the product has more than one LAN network configuration, it's going to have a tab for each LAN network, except the GIS R2 and R4, where the LAN ports are configured as one switch, and so it has one LAN connection. Now, the LAN connection has configuration options. It's always a DHCP server, because this has to issue the IP addresses to devices, because those IP addresses are going to be used in the authentication process. However, we can set the DHCP range. Now, it's important to note that the IP range should be large, and the default is to allow 4,000 IP addresses. This is necessary because many different devices might come in close proximity to a wireless access point and request an IP address. And for example, a large hotel might find that 4,000 IP addresses are received during the course of the day. And so that information can be set here. Remember that when configuring LAN addresses, if there's more than one LAN port, the addresses must not overlap to avoid any type of routing error. The wireless LAN devices also have a page to configure the wireless network, and that's the K1, K3, K5, and K7. And there are three configuration options on that page. One is to enable or disable the wireless. Another one is to change the SSID, which is the name that the wireless broadcasts. And another option is to change the channel setting. And this is used in conjunction with the ability to monitor the channels, to select a channel that's free of interference. And there are apps that can be downloaded onto a mobile phone, such as Wi-Fi Analyzer, that show the use of the channels, which allows the wireless device to have a channel selected that is maybe free or with the least number of other transmissions on that channel. Remember that when multiple access points are transmitting on the same channel, the performance is going to be reduced. The data speed is going to be reduced because there are collisions occurring. The host name is a feature that is available for systems integrators. There is a warning with this because to use the host name feature, the default host name that comes with the equipment is aplogin.com. That can be changed. For example, a hotel might want to use the hotel domain name as a host name. However, there are certain steps. You can't put any random name in there. You have to purchase a domain name that you're going to use as a host name. This has to be registered with a hosting service so that it's added to the DNS system. And then it's necessary to purchase an SSL certificate for the domain name. Once these steps are done, then the new host name can be installed. But remember, this is only for systems integrators. It's not something that a simple installation will require. The email message service is used by several features in the guest internet. For example, the credit card billing sends out an email notifying each transaction. It's possible to send out reports via email. If the user enters data as part of the login process, that's also sent by email. And we can have a couple of different methods of sending emails. One is to use an SMTP server that the ISP might provide. And the better method is to use the guest internet server to send emails. And so that information is configured using this page. If the choice is made to use the SMTP server, then information has to be provided. However, this sometimes gives problems because of the way the ISP SMTP servers are configured. There's a firmware upgrade option, which we release firmware upgrades periodically, and they can be installed using this firmware upgrade page. People who have an older equipment should open a support ticket on our website page, provide the version number of the software that's installed, and if necessary, we'll send the correct upgrade. Remote access requires two things. First of all, the firewall page has to be configured for remote access. And then if the WAN port is a DHCP client, the IP address may vary. And so the hotspot owner can choose to have an account with dynamic DNS, and that will allow the user to log in remotely via dynamic DNS website in order to get remote access to the gateway. And so that method might be used by some types of systems integrators or managed service providers. We have a reboot function where we can reboot the gateway, and we can also have auto reboot. And this might be useful in situations where many different IP addresses are issued. For example, in the hotel I mentioned, where 4,000 IP addresses are issued a day because people carry mobile devices which request IPs, we can set the auto reboot to reboot the device at 3 o'clock in the morning, for example, and that will empty the IP pool. And so new IP addresses can be added rather than continue accumulating IP addresses. The next stage is some reliability features, and we have two levels of failure monitoring. The gateway can monitor any device that's attached to it, such as a wireless access point. And this might include also IP cameras or DVRs. Also, the cloud can monitor the guest internet gateway and the ISP connection and determine if a failure has occurred. Now, if a failure does occur, the monitoring can be configured to send out an email, and the email can identify where the failure has occurred. And so if a failure occurs in a wireless access point, then information can be added to identify where that access point is located in order to facilitate the repair. The page here shows how the monitoring and alerting is configured. Depending on the model, we can add more IP addresses or MAC addresses. With the GIS R20 and R40, we can add up to 250. With the R2, we're limited to 16. Now, we also put a device name, a description of the location of the device, so that if we get an alert telling us that the device has failed, then we can immediately identify the device. What we can get is an alert on our mobile phone, which will tell us where the problem might lie. We have a port forwarding feature, which is very useful for businesses that provide remote support who might want to change the configuration of wireless access points. And then a system backup feature. Once the configuration is completed, the installer must always make a backup of the configuration. This page also allows us to set the gateway product to factory defaults. The time zone setting is made during the setup wizard. However, it might be necessary to change this, and a situation where this might arise is if a hotel IT department is configuring gateways and sending them out to franchises. Once the gateway is installed in the franchise, it may be in a different time zone. And so the correct time zone can be selected before the gateway is shipped out. The correct time is obtained from internet servers and adjusted according to the time zone. And the time is necessary because of the access codes, to time the access codes correctly. Let's look now at peripheral management. We have two types of devices which we can connect. One is the standard letter printer, which can be connected to any computer, any administrator computer. And then we have the point of sale printer, the GIS TP1 printer that prints out receipts. These printers are configured using the printer setup page. There's one configuration for the thermal printer, the GIS TP1, and another configuration for the vouchers on a letter size printer. When the vouchers are printed on the letter size printer, the page looks like this with 16 vouchers per page, which can then be cut up. Now, I mentioned the GIS TP1 can be used in a point of sale application, and So the GIS TP1 will print out a receipt, and the information on the receipt is configured using the setup page. And then we can set up to 10 buttons on the tablet in order to determine the type of code that's printed out. Next, we have application program interfaces. We have one application program interface on the gateway, which can be accessed by local systems. It might be a property management system. And then we have a cloud application programming interface. And this can be used by any type of cloud-based application, such as a campground reservation system, where the reservation system can make a reservation in any one of 1,000 campgrounds. And so the reservation system can communicate with the cloud API. Reporting now is very straightforward. We have a number of different reports for traffic usage, login times, new versus returning guests, access code time and date usage, and we can send out these reports via email. Credit card sales is a report I mentioned earlier with credit card billing, and so we can see a report of use and a report of the code sales. The cloud has some extremely valuable data that helps us identify where network bottlenecks might be occurring. And so it shows the data traffic over the WAN ports and the performance of the gateway. It also shows the codes that are used, the users that are logged in. But mostly important, it's very useful to identify if the internet connection it has sufficient bandwidth for the number of people using the service. We have the table showing connected users, which I mentioned briefly previously. And so we can see the authenticator users and the connected users. Now, next is the remote access and cloud management. The remote access is configured using the firewall to activate it, and this should be configured for SSL using the HTTPS connection. And so this allows any device on the internet to access the gateway remotely using the password, the supervisor password. If the gateway is behind a router, then that router will also need a port forward rule in order to access the gateway remotely. The cloud management service offers a better method of connecting with the gateway because it's not necessary to set up any type of port forwarding on the local network. The access between the gateway and the cloud is outbound. The gateway polls the cloud for information, and so it can sit behind a router or several routers and still communicate with the cloud without problem. The cloud management does not have a limit to the number of sites that can be managed, and gateways can be added and also included as part of a group. And so this is a very useful feature for managed service providers who are monitoring and managing a number of different client locations. An overview of the cloud service is shown here. The most important part is the cloud service is free. It's a service available with each guest internet gateway purchase. So sign up and use a cloud account, and the cloud account can have one or many gateways attached to it. So it permits the central management and monitoring of gateway products. It doesn't have all the management features that a gateway has, but it provides sufficient management features necessary to ensure that the service provides a good quality connection for users. The group feature allows gateways to be added to a group. This can be a managed service provider who is grouping the gateways of customers, or it can be one location where a number of gateways are grouped together as one large virtual gateways, such as a sports arena with 10,000 users. There's no limit to the number of users that can be managed by a guest internet gateway, or the number of gateways that can be managed in a group. Now, the cloud monitors gateways for failure, monitors the ISP circuits for failure, and can issue a trouble ticket directly to a field service technician via email. So it's a great tool for IT departments and managed service providers. And the cloud is not necessary for normal operation. The cloud is a supervisory layer that fits on top of the gateway. So if the cloud is not available, it doesn't impede the gateway function in any way. When a new gateway is installed, it has an option to add it to the cloud account, which must be activated. And so the administrator must log in and go to the cloud activation page. Once the gateway is added to the cloud, they can be grouped, and so a business with multiple gateways can be managed centrally through one gateway page. It's possible to manage multiple wireless access points in one site as one gateway as part of a cloud group. So the cloud has a series of advantages. It's not necessary to have any type of port forwarding in the local network router because the gateway communicates directly with the cloud and allows the management of an unlimited number of locations. We can see alerts on the go using our mobile devices. And it's a great tool for managed service providers who want to manage and monitor multiple locations. When the login is made to the cloud account, the account is created and the user gets a password by way of an email when the account is registered. And so that username and that password is used to log into the account. The dashboard shows a series of performance characteristics of the networks and can show individual gateways and also groups of gateways. The important information is the WAN usage, because we want to know if the ISP connection to the network location is being run at the maximum bandwidth. And we also have access to historic data, so we can look back and see what happened in previous days with the performance of the network. We create a cloud group very simply by adding the name of a group. And we can create codes for that cloud group, which are then provided to the users of the gateways, and that can be multiple gateways. We can print the codes in a voucher format, as we could with the printing feature of gateways. And these can be printed on any letter size printer that's connected to the administrator's computer. We have gateway failure monitoring, which allows us to get alerts if the gateway fails or the internet connection to the site fails. And more information can be found at these links for the cloud setup and the cloud user guide. And these complement the product manual that we also have available that can be downloaded from the Guest Internet website. Now, the cloud management group code generation for mobility is a very important feature because it's the cloud that allows multiple locations to be configured as a mobility network, and the cloud hands off the user from one location to the next. And this might be appropriate for an internet service provider who's providing wireless network throughout a town. And so we can have multiple sites. Each wireless device is connected to a different ISP. And so we're going to generate the codes for the group. And so the customer can connect to any wireless device using a code, and then moves to any other wireless device without having to re-enter the code. And so we activate this roaming using the cloud feature. First of all, we check the box to allow roaming between different sites for the group. We then have two options. One is stop roaming if the user is logged out, and the user is keep user roaming until the code expires. And so we would probably select the option keep the user roaming until the code expires. There's also another option, show login page if user is logged out, or auto login if user is logged out. And so in this way, the user can move from one location to another and stay connected to the internet. Finally, a summary. The product cost of guest internet gateways is very competitive. They offer a very high performance solution and reduce the equipment count and expense. We're constantly improving the performance of these products. When new chips become available, we incorporate them into the products, and so the performance of each product improves. We also improve the performance through new developments to the software that is running on these devices. So reliability is very important for us. Multi-WAN products that can have an internet backup are important. So now it's possible to connect a location using a DSL and then have a backup using a Starlink satellite connection. And so that increases the bandwidth available for the users, but also if one of those methods fails, the users are moved automatically to the method that continues functioning. We make great efforts to simplify the use of the equipment, and most of the equipment is installed by people without technical skills, hotel managers. It's not necessary to have any type of technical skill to install these products other than knowing how to use a computer and to configure a wireless access point. And then we have features for popular applications, voucher design, mobility. That's used a lot, especially in countries in Latin America, Caribbean, Africa, even Asia, where they want to provide very low-cost internet services in remote rural areas. For more documentation, please see our website. We have a lot of product documentation. You can download PDF manuals. The documentation is available in English and Spanish. And we provide free technical support via our website. If any question arises, we can usually answer that within one business day. And distributors and resellers get a preferential level of technical support. Remember also that products have a 1-year warranty, and we have an RMA service based out of the United States to repair or replace products, and always software upgrades are free. So thank you very much for following us through this presentation. The presentation was long, but I think very useful for anyone who wants to install guest internet products. If you have any questions, our contact information is there. Contact us via our support@guestinternet.com, or you can call us using the 1-800 number. Also, please follow us on social media. We publish daily information about applications and products, which many people find very useful. And so at this point, we're going to finish the presentation. Thank you for watching. And we do appreciate your time in working with Guest Internet products. We are here to help you, and we'll provide the support that you need to make your project successful. Thank you very much.